Guys, I'm back. Alright, so this video is going over the answers for 19-3 in your packet. So this one is fill in the blanks. All you have to do is once we go over the answers, make sure that you fill in the blanks as we go. The only thing that will be left in your packet after we finish this page is the first page. And it depends, if you're looking at the hard copy, it's the first page which says, I think it's content vocabulary. If you're looking at the scans that I posted in Google Classroom, it still should be the first scan. It should say content vocabulary activity 19, Roosevelt and the New Deal. And just like what we do in class, you're using all those terms to fill in the blanks. And this is a review for you to make sure that you're getting this information. So go ahead, whether you're looking at it online or whether you're looking at a paper copy of it, we're going to do 19-3, so that all you'll have left to do is the review page, the content vocabulary, and then you'll be finished. All right, section 1, main idea, says Roosevelt was easily reelected, but the New Deal lost momentum during his second term due to his court packing plan and a new recession. Number 1 says support for the New Deal came from a blank that included farmers, industrial workers, African Americans, new immigrants, ethnic minorities, women, progressives, and intellectuals. So number 1 is talking about from a new, and in the blank should be Democratic Party supporters. Again, I realize small blank for a lot of words, but this is coming from the page of notes that we went over yesterday in the video that said that supporters are switching parties. Individuals that would have in the 1800s been considered Republican supporters are now Democratic supporters. Number 2 says the Republicans nominated blank to oppose Roosevelt in 1963. And this is talking about, I'm sorry, making sure I say the right name because just making sure that I had it pulled up really quick. Alfred London. We don't really talk about him. He didn't win. Not that he had that big of a chance. Because you know what's really crazy is the 1936 election, Roosevelt won with 523, and then Alfred Landon, Landon, won with 8. A solid 8. It's crazy. I know, it's crazy. But I want to make sure that I said the wrong name, and I'm glad I double checked. Number 3 says, after winning re-election, Roosevelt tried to change the political balance on the Supreme Court through a court packing plan. So it's court packing for the blank. Where are we at? Number 4 says, economist John Maynard Keynes argued that government should spend heavily in a blank, even if it requires deficit spending, heavily in a depression. Or even recession. Both of those would be true, and it's really crazy because we're experiencing that right now, real time. If you're watching news, if you're watching Facebook, if you're watching any of the alerts, the Trump administration right now is actually proposing that we send out checks to Americans. We send out checks to make sure that our airlines, our big businesses, our banks, our small businesses don't go under during this time, and restaurants. Let's see, question number 4 says, oh, I'm sorry, that was number 4. Second section says, the New Deal expanded federal power over the economy and established a social safety net. Number 5 says, the Farm Security Administration gave loans to farmers so they could purchase farms. You could also say settlers, anybody that's moving out west during this time period and thinking about starting up a farm. Not that right now, and when I say right now, I'm talking about the mid to late 1930s. Not that that's the best time to do it, but we, number 1, don't want to lose farmers, and number 2, would love to encourage people to become a farmer, especially since we're losing a lot that are giving up and moving somewhere else. Number 6 says the blank provided for the abolition of child labor and also set the first federal minimum wage. That was actually something we looked at yesterday. I don't know if it was a packet question. Oh, no, it was in your PowerPoint. The Fair Standards Act set the very first set minimum wage, as well as what it considered full-time working hours. Number 7 says, as Republicans and conservative Southern Democrats began blocking New Deal legislation, Roosevelt became increasingly preoccupied with the growing threats posed by I think he's talking about the Dixiecrats here again. We've actually talked about the Dixiecrats before, and we're going to see the Dixiecrats come back. These strong Southern Democratic supporters that don't want to see any assistance given to minorities, women, immigrants, anything like that. Number 8 says, as a whole, the New Deal tended to operate so that it helped all, even though that was not true. We do know that women and minorities don't get the assistance they really need during this time period. Number 9 says, in 1937, the Supreme Court ruled that the federal government had the constitutional authority under the blank to regulate production within a state under just say articles, because right now I'm drawing a blank as to which article in the Constitution it is, but just put that under the articles. They had the power to regulate production within a state. So here again, I know in the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution it talks about states' rights, but I don't remember which article it talks about it. But that's okay for right now. You're not going to be tested on that. Number 10 says, by the end of the 1930s, the American people felt that the government had a duty to maintain a blank for its citizens. To maintain a relief program, which, like I said, it's kind of crazy. We're talking about all this from the 1930s, and we're actually experiencing it real time right now, 2020. Oh my gosh. How crazy is it that we talk about history repeats itself? We're experiencing what we experienced in 2008 when we had another recession, which we're going to experience a recession now, and it's sad because in our economic roller coaster, we were actually up at the top doing well, but we're coming down because the virus and having to social distance means that hotels and restaurants, airlines, travel companies, big business across the board are suffering because of it. So that's the last answer. Follow along, fill in the blanks as soon as you get it done. The only thing that you are left responsible for is that content vocabulary activity, which is the same as what we do in class. Sometimes we do it together and sometimes we don't, but I think for you it's good practice to go through this by yourself. So, good job, guys. Talk to you later.